nothing about Monika. She sent me, no, I'm going to do something about strippers. I was like, you're in it.
No.
Welcome to the Night of Lies.
You have to hold this like a
Please don't make me hold it. Please don't make me be the whole guy.
Well, I'm used to being the odd one out. Hey, who took the clicker?
People are loving that clicker tonight.
Just touch it.
Touch what?
The clicker.
If I had a nickel for every time I said that.
Yeah, it's here. Sorry.
Thank you.
I love you, Monika!
Monika!
So I chose the title of my talk when I was coming up with an outline of what I wanted to say tonight. It's the title of a Dr. Seuss book that's become a popular high school graduation gift. It's also shorter than my subtitle, How Physics, Photography, and Pole Dancing Led Me to the Mountains. So my convoluted journey to the mountains started when I went to university. For most of my life, I've been a very quiet, reserved person. I wasn't very active. I just loved sitting by myself, reading, listening to music. They say that university is a time of experimentation and self-discovery.
Yeah.
Experimented. So I went to university thinking I would become a medical examiner, but after getting C's in bio and chem, and A's in math and physics, I switched into a physics degree after my first year. During orientation week of second year physics, I met a really rad group of people. We call ourselves, come on, clicker. Night of Lies, your clicker sucks.
I'm totally with you with that. I've been complaining for years. You can take it up with Ralph. You won't spend the money.
So, with my new friends, I did become more social and I started trying new things. At least with a very small subset of people that enjoyed answering questions like what happens when a capatosaur, so a dinosaur that is also a capacitor, moves at relativistic speeds. We may have been drunk that night. In second year university, I also joined a band, but after a year and a half I quit because my singer became a crack dealer. So I kind of just immersed myself in school and I left the guitar behind, but I got involved in the music scene in a different way. And my last year of university, I started going to metal shows again. And I tried to click ahead of time, and it's not going.
Oh yeah, that's the laptop.
Yeah.
So going to metal shows, I ended up going on my own, and I made new friends in the heavy metal community. And going to metal shows taught me that I had a high tolerance for physical pain, usually from being in the mosh pit or on the barrier. The laser's not really working, but one of my favorite concerts was Iron Maiden in Edmonton in 2008. I have 2 cameos in their documentary Flight 666. I was on the barrier the entire time. My ribs were bruised, my hips were bruised and scraped. I had bruises all over my back from crowd surfers and random elbows. I'd never been so destroyed after a show. It was amazing. So I got into shooting shows after my parents got me a camera as a graduation gift. And my friends' bands were my guinea pigs as I got into concert photography. A few months later, I started my business, Deviat Optics Photography. And within a year, I went from shooting local bands in dark, dingy bars to shooting international acts on big stages. As a music photographer, I learned how to network, and I went places on my own, and I got used to meeting strangers in the dark. This comes into play later on again. So some of the highlights of my concert career include traveling across North America to shoot bands, and also covering heavy metal cruises. So in the bottom right corner, that's the pool deck of a cruise ship where one of the stages was built. There are 60 bands on that boat and over 2,000 metalheads from 70 countries.
Woo!
Yeah! Everyone is always super interested about.
I've seen documentaries on this.
So I also tried this out in university. One of my physics buddies convinced me to take a class with her and I really liked it. It was challenging and way more interesting than a conventional gym. The first time I saw anyone do a human flag, I told myself I was going to train myself up to that. So I was committed. I started teaching, performing, and competing. Aside from a couple years off due to a car accident, I kept with it. And I now own a pole dance studio with 2 other ladies. So pole dancing taught me to be a show-off if it plays. Maybe.
that's a nice light fixture.
Yeah. And it also helped with my confidence, because once you perform in front of a couple hundred people in short shorts and a sports bra, public speaking doesn't seem so bad. So I've talked about physics and photography and pole dancing, but I lied. There's some other things before I got to the mountains. So I had to get involved with the circus first. The physics buddy that got me into pole also took me to the Calgary Circus School. And one of the apparatuses that really interested me was aerial straps. It's basically like rings in gymnastics, but instead of a ring, there's a loop for your hands and feet. It's also extremely painful. And that's how I met Ian Holmes. He's the guy doing a really mediocre spready while hanging off of me. So this really muscular man who stands around in ridiculous pink tank tops and yells at me to do better actually does some pretty extreme things in the mountains. But I had a hard time convincing Ian to train me. He's kind of an arrogant ass, and do you think I could hack his training program? But eventually he relented when I sent him some convincing diagrams and graphs. So I started going to his gym, Ascension Fitness, and there's a lot of mountain people that train there. I became friends with some climbers, and they tried to get me to go climbing, but I wasn't having any of it. So we're still not at the mountains. Let's talk about wine. In the summer of 2014, I went on my annual family vacation to the Okanagan, and I wanted to try landscape photography. I was looking at photographers in the area when I came across Stephen Hancock. He had some really amazing Milky Way photos, and so I emailed him and asked him if he'd take me out. He responded saying he would, and he also told me he looked me up because he thought I was a weirdo for asking that. So that was the beginning of me meeting strangers in the dark for photography. I really got into shooting the Milky Way in 2015, and that's when I came across this photo. Eventually we'll switch. Yes, by Vern DeWitt. This is from Berg Lake. I've already kind of talked about it, 20-kilometer hike into the backcountry. I had no hiking experience at this time, but this photo made me decide I wanted to shoot the Milky Way from a mountaintop. I was smart enough to start with some small daytime hikes, research gear, and really look into what I needed to know to be out in the mountains in the dark. So I started hiking, and none of my friends are into this. This is something I started on my own. And for my 30th birthday, I went to Assiniboine Provincial Park. I did stay at the lodge. It was really nice. There was birthday cake and wine. But on the night of my birthday, I had some really amazing dark skies. So there's basically no light pollution there. There was no moon that night. The Milky Way was next to Assiniboine and even got some aurora. Even though I didn't go that far from the lodge for this shot, it was pretty unnerving being out in the backcountry alone in the dark for the first time. But there was one other photographer out there on their own. So I tentatively said hello and introduced myself to Becky. Becky also had a hard time finding people to go out with her on the adventure she planned, so she did what I did, just went on her own. We ended up hiking together a lot in 2016. We did our first mountaintop Milky Way shoot from Eeyore on April Fool's Day. It was pretty cold, kind of miserable, and really beautiful. So that year I met a lot of wonderful people. I went hiking and scrambling, a lot of different groups. I learned a lot and I built up my skill and comfort level. And one of the people I met through one of these hiking groups, Shannon, invited me to Night of Lies last year. That's where I met my friend Robin. And
That's me!
yes.
That's her, in case anyone's wondering.
So Robin was the person that finally pushed me to try climbing.
Yay!
There were tons of people trying to get me to do it over the years, but there's two main reasons I kept saying no. One was I had way too many things going on at the time. And the other is I have huge trust issues, so the thought of someone belaying me did not sound appealing at all.
I got you.
You did get me. Thank you.
Love.
Love.
So, Robin, I think she's a very inspirational woman, told me she'd try pole dancing the night we met.
Woohoo!
She's very good.
Bring the pole out.
I'm sorry. She told me she needed a new fitness challenge, and she wanted something that cross-trained well with climbing, and pole does that. And then she attempted to convince me to try climbing. So last December, I signed up for a beginner climbing class at Calgary Climbing Center, and I let a stranger belay me. It was very scary, but they obviously didn't kill me. And it's pretty fun. I've been lucky to have some pretty good mentors to take me out and teach me some skills. In April, Mike, who I met through Robin, took me to Wasouch so I could learn how to lead and to get my first experience on rock. If you know of Samson, I don't want to ruin his reputation too much, but he was a really good teacher. He really wants you to succeed and be comfortable.
He's a dick.
He's a total dick. He's a sweetheart.
Ooh.
He incremented me from a 5'5" up to a 5'9" that day, which was pretty exciting. And so this year I got to climb around Bow Valley, Skaha, and Jasper. I spent a lot of time working on my technique because I really like having good foundations, and that comes from the physics and how I was trained on pole and straps. And learning to trust your feet is fucking hard. I just want to pull ups all the time. I might not press the next one just in case it messes up. So something I think is really cool about this journey is that all my favorite people are connecting and sharing experiences. My pole friends, okay, it's not going. My pole friends are trying climbing, and my climbing friends are trying pole fitness. I do teach men, if anyone wants to try this. And the metalheads are interspersed everywhere. So I want to say I'm really grateful to all the people that have come into my life and exposed me to new things, encouraged me, and in some cases taught me. I never would have thought to do some of these things without all these people that accepted me into their lives and introduced me to the things they love and were passionate about. So this is what I love. Going up mountains. No. Raph, fix it. Yeah, so it's a time lapse taken from Mount Temple of the Milky Way setting while a crazy aurora storm pulses.
I can't whistle.